The biggest brands and the best teams don't always produce the best games. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. If you love the sport that we love, please like the video and share the videos out on social media. Subscribe right here to the Voice of College Football and our under the radar selections for the 2023 schedule. We run down the top 10. And let's start out at UCLA at the Rose Bowl, where the Bruins will be taking on Coastal Carolina in a nice little matchup on September 2nd. Tim Beck takes over for Jamie Chadwell as head coach for the Chanticleers. Of course, Grayson McCall entered the transfer portal, did not transfer, brings his 9,000 yards and 95 touchdowns back to Myrtle Beach. UCLA almost had an enormous 2022 season. They were in college football playoff contention with only one loss through 9 games, but they faltered late, losing a big game against USC, of course, losing the bowl game to Pitt. No Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He moves on to the NFL. Colin Schlee, most likely the starting quarterback at UCLA, coming from Kent State, 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Or does the 5-star Dante Moore win the job as a true freshman? Coastal Carolina at UCLA on September 2nd. Kalen DeBoer had a great season at Washington. It looked like he was mightily missed at Fresno State early in the season, but the Bulldogs bounced back behind Jeff Tedford and won the Mountain West Conference with 9 consecutive wins. They open up the season with a September showdown at Purdue, taking on the Boilers with a ton of losses on the Purdue side entering 2023. Jeff Brom, who did a tremendous job in West Lafayette, where Purdue was losing most of its games in the Big Ten, he lifted them to several bowl games and a Big Ten Western Division championship in 2022. He's gone to Louisville, of course. Aiden O'Connell, one of the best quarterbacks in Purdue history, is gone, as well as his weapons, Charlie Jones and Payne Durham. Ryan Walters, the new head coach, and most likely Hudson Card, the transfer from Texas, taking over as Purdue's quarterback. On the Fresno State side, again, Tedford, what a great job he did once he righted the ship in September after they lost 4 games early. They won 9 consecutive down the stretch to take the Mountain West Conference Championship over Boise State. Jake Haener is gone, most likely replaced by 3-star quarterback Jaden Mandel, who doesn't turn 18 until deep into spring practice here in April. The Utah Utes have another showdown against the Florida Gators, this time in Salt Lake City to open the season. So the SEC and the Pac-12 getting together once again to open a college football season. But the very next week, Utah challenges itself with a road affair at Baylor. September 9th is the date. Kyle Whittingham and the Utes will try to avoid another slow start, but big finishes have led to consecutive Pac-12 championships for the Utes. Dave Aranda coming off a 6-7 season in which they, of course, won the Big 12 championship in the Sugar Bowl the previous season. Quarterback Blake Shapen leads a thin quarterback room, 18 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Baylor will try to re-find its offense after losing all those weapons from the 21 team. They ranked 67th in the nation in points per game after a number 10 finish in 2021. It's Utah, it's Baylor. It's a nice little matchup between conferences that are right now vying for realignment and expansion rights. Utah at Baylor in September. Early last season, Kansas State suffered an upset loss at home to the hands of Tulane. We found out months later that that wasn't a bad loss. Meanwhile, the Wildcats won a big game against an SEC team in Missouri by 4 touchdowns. The two teams that used to share a conference get back together on September 16th in Columbia, Missouri. Deuce Vaughn is gone, one of the most electric backs we've seen recently in college football. 1,900 yards and 12 touchdowns, moves on, as does Adrian Martinez. The initial starting quarterback at Kansas State, of course, Will Howard, was the guy that led them to most of their big wins. He's back, 15 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Trayshawn Ward, the incoming transfer from Florida State, will try to make up for some of the lost production from Deuce Vaughn, the Big 12 champion Kansas State. Missouri has quite the quarterback competition, even though their incumbent Brady Cook is back. It also includes Jabari Johnson, who's coming in this summer, Sam Horn, who got a freshman campaign and one of the more highly touted quarterback recruits in the history of the program, Jake Garcia, incoming former 4-star from Miami. Eli Drinkwitz has a worse record than Barry Odom, and he's coming up on a season in which he would match Barry Odom's tenure, and Drinkwitz is only 17-19. Got to win at Mizzou. They take on Kansas State on September 16th. If you love offense, you are obsessed with the matchup of North Carolina and Appalachian State. How could you not be? They scored 10 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of that epic offensive shootout that Carolina won 63-61 against App State. The two get back together here in 2023. 1,216 yards, and again, 10 touchdowns scored in the fourth quarter, 6 by App State as they made a furious rally and came up just short, 63-61. App State has an incoming transfer quarterback, Brady McBride, who was the starting quarterback at Texas State to replace Chase Bryce. And of course, the Heisman Trophy candidate Drake May leads the Carolina offense. The Heels falter down the stretch from 9-1 to 9-5 to conclude 2023. It's App State and Carolina once again on September 9th. Oregon State faces something that the Beavers have not faced in quite some time. Expectations. Oregon State 10-3 last season with a massive bowl romp of Florida 30-3. They've got a tremendous team coming back. Jonathan Smith, one of the best in the business. They've got an early test under the radar against San Diego State at home, much like they did last season against Fresno State. And that game against Fresno State last year was a thrilling matchup in which the Beavs won on the final play of the game on 4th down to knock off the eventual Mountain West Conference champions. San Diego State has a history of pulling off upsets against the Pac-12. San Diego State does not back down from this conference whatsoever. DJ Uiagalelei is, of course, the upgrade that Oregon State is expecting in the passing game in which the Beavers played well in all units except 105th in passing offense this past season. San Diego State at Oregon State, September 16th. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh sounds like a massive AFC North collision in the NFL, doesn't it? Well, for the first time since Big East days, it's a college football matchup between the Bearcats and the Panthers. The old Big East rivals last met in 2011 and 2012. The Bearcats won both of those games, even though Pitt leads the series 8-4. Scott Satterfield is being mentioned as an average coach and a downgrade from Luke Fickell, so he has much to prove moving from Louisville to Cincinnati, where he went 25-24. Pat Narduzzi, on the other hand, got off to a marginal start with the Panthers, but in recent seasons, 11-3 2 years ago and an ACC championship, best record in the ACC Coastal the past several seasons. They went 9-4, of course, this past season and have a new quarterback at Pitt in Phil Jurkovec, and the issue there has been Jurkovec's health at Boston College. For Cincinnati, they've got incoming transfers from all over the place in Emory Jones at quarterback, Keyshawn Helton at running back, and D. Wiggins at wide receiver, courtesy Arizona State, Florida State, and Miami. In 2017 and 2018, of course, UCF was the class of the group of five with back-to-back undefeated regular seasons, and in that first campaign, a win over Auburn in the Peach Bowl. Gus Malzahn trying to reestablish UCF, and of course, they're going to do it on the Power 5 level now in the Big 12 as we look at one of the matchups between two of the great group of five programs over the past 20, 25 years, and the gold standard is, of course, Boise State, and they will be on the blue turf against the Knights in September. The Broncos advanced to the Mountain West Conference Championship game before they lost to Fresno State last season. They've got Taylon Green at quarterback, 14 touchdowns, 6 picks, 10 rushing touchdowns, taking on John Rice Plumlee back at quarterback for the Knights after totaling 25 touchdowns and 3,300 yards. It's UCF coming off a 9-win season. Boise State as well, a 10-win campaign for the Broncos on September 9th on the blue turf in Idaho. Two downtrodden programs made impressive comebacks this past season, Illinois and Kansas. Brett Bielema, 8-5 for the Illini, and they were probably a better football team than that. They lost in the last seconds against a number of teams, including in the bowl game against Mississippi State. Kansas, yes, still had a losing record at 6-7, but did you watch Kansas football? Lance Leipold's doing an amazing job, and he's got his quarterback, Jalen Daniels, back for another go here in 2023. The Illini and Kansas get together in Lawrence on September 9th. Daniels threw 18 touchdowns with 4 picks in just 9 games played. They want to keep him upright this season. Luke Altmaier is most likely the starting quarterback for Illinois, coming in from Ole Miss, taking over for Tommy DeVito. Tons of losses on the Illinois side, though. Chase Brown, the second leading rusher in the country, gone, along with Devin Witherspoon, one of the best defensive backs in college football as well for Illinois. It's the Illini, it's the Jayhawks, trying to show that they are programs on the rise September 9th at Kansas. Our final stop and number one game is another matchup between the Big 12 and the Pac-12 as the Oregon Ducks, coming off a successful run in Bo Nix's first season, Dan Lanning's first season, going to Texas Tech to take on a Red Raiders team that surprised a lot of people, including myself in 2022. Of course, Joey McGuire's first season with the Red Raiders, they went 8-5 with an impressive bowl win against Lane Kiffin and company. Back to the Ducks. Bo Nix accounted for 44 touchdowns. Dan Lanning led the Ducks to 10 wins, almost a division championship. And they've got an edge rusher coming in from South Carolina in Jordan Birch. The defense was an issue for the Ducks in their 2022 campaign. They're going to take on old buddy Tyler Shook, most likely, as Donovan Smith, the Red Raiders starting quarterback primarily in 22, has transferred to Houston. Tyler Shook led Oregon to a Pac-12 championship game win and a Fiesta Bowl appearance in 2020. Now he seems to be the guy for the Red Raiders. It's a nice little matchup on September 9th between Oregon and Texas Tech in Lubbock. Those are my under-the-radar selections. You got to check out also my top 10 non-conference games for 2023. We have left that link down in the comments section below, so leave your comments, check out that video, and we will continue to talk college football right here where we do it every day at the Voice of College Football.